massive paradox, and it's right at the heart of Christian thought. So let's unpack it. I mean, really stop and think about that. In the Roman world, the cross wasn't just a way to die. It was a billboard. It was a tool designed for absolute maximum humiliation and pain, saved for the worst of the worst. So the question we're asking is a big one. How does that turn into this? The flip is just absolute. What was a tool for public execution becomes a roadmap for personal transformation. What was a symbol of total defeat and suffering gets reimagined as the ultimate act of love and generosity. It goes from being just some historical artifact to a living, breathing teacher. So how on earth did this happen? Okay, so to even begin to get our heads around this, we first have to totally redefine a word we think we know: wisdom. See, in this context, wisdom isn't what you might think. We're leaning here on the theologian St. Louis Marie de Montfort, and he says, eternal wisdom isn't a bunch of smart quotes or abstract ideas. It's not a what at all, it's a who. It's a person, Christ, described as love made real, love incarnate. And honestly, that one little shift from a concept to a person is the key that unlocks this whole paradox. And this isn't some passive, distant figure. The source material lays out this incredible three-step journey. First, this wisdom existed before anything else, before the world even began. Then, it dives right into human history. It gets involved. And finally, its whole purpose is to seek friendship, to invite a personal, loving response from every single one of us. So right away, wisdom becomes this dynamic relationship, not just a static idea you can learn from a book. So, okay, if wisdom is a person, then what does that make the cross? Well, it stops being just a tool for killing somebody. It becomes a kind of classroom. It becomes, believe it or not, the school of suffering. And look, I get it. This is a really tough idea. The phrase loving the cross doesn't mean enjoying pain. Not at all. It's about looking at suffering differently. It's about seeing it as a place where our own selfishness can kind of burn away, and something better, like generosity, can actually start to grow. The focus is all on what can come out of the struggle, not the struggle itself. And wrapped up in all of this is a pretty powerful warning. It's one that, directly pushes back against our modern obsession with finding the most comfortable, easy, frictionless life possible. It's all boiled down into this one shocking little phrase: no cross, what a cross. Just let that sit there for a second. It's a total paradox, right? It feels like it holds the entire argument in just 5 words. So what in the world could that possibly mean? Well, the thinking behind that phrase is basically this: a life that's only about avoiding hardship. That life is actually the heaviest burden you can carry. The idea is that by trying to dodge every sacrifice, we end up with a life that just feels hollow, spiritually empty. From this point of view, the biggest, heaviest cross of all is a meaningless life. So, we've got the theory, right? We've got the new definition of wisdom, and we've got the warning. But what does this actually look like? What does this kind of wisdom look like when it's lived out by a real person in the real world? For that, the source points us straight to Mary at the foot of the cross. She's called the seat of wisdom for a reason. Because in that moment of just unimaginable suffering, she is the living embodiment of this whole difficult idea. She doesn't run from the pain. She's completely present to it. So what are the qualities of this lived wisdom? Well, it's not loud, it's not dramatic. It's actually marked by a quiet, silent courage. It's about a faithful presence, even when everything seems hopeless. It's about a total surrender to a situation you absolutely cannot control. And maybe most importantly, it's that incredible act of letting the deepest sorrow start to turn into hope. Now, I know this might all be sounding like really ancient abstract theology, but the argument is that this has a very direct, and let's be honest, very countercultural message for us right here, right now. Yeah, the key thing to get here is that this kind of wisdom, it isn't cheap. It's not some easy life hack you can just download. It is demanding. It asks for patience when all we want is speed. It asks for sacrifice when we're programmed to seek comfort. And it calls for service when the world is telling us to chase status. And you can see how this applies in really practical ways. Think about leadership. It becomes about service over status. Or education. It's not just about cramming information into heads, but about the formation of a person's character. And in social justice, this is the very definition of solidarity, choosing to carry the burdens of other people as if they were your own. And that really brings us right to the core thesis of this whole thing. Real, genuine transformation doesn't come from trying to avoid all our problems. According to this way of thinking, it happens when we choose to pick up the burdens we have to carry and the burdens of others, and do it with love and a real sense of purpose. So, at the end of the day, this brings us to one final, really challenging thought. This kind of wisdom isn't something you just admire from a safe distance. It's meant to be lived out in love. And so that leaves us with a question that goes way beyond this explainer. It's really a personal question for all of us. If real transformation comes not from dodging our burdens, but from carrying them with purpose, then how do we carry ours today?